All right. Well, we'll get moving. There's a lot of weather to talk about, especially over the last 24 hours, as Steve mentioned earlier, and I'll get to that in just a second. But going back further to the last week, on the left-hand side here, these are our mean temperatures, and for much of the state, especially the north and the east, it was another cooler than normal week. And well, I say that with a little bit of a caveat because we are looking at a quite a change coming up here in the near future. But means for the week range from much below normal, actually some 6, 7, 8 degrees below normal in western upper Michigan, and generally 2 to 4 degrees below normal in the northern and eastern lower peninsula, to the southwestern part of the state where temperatures were actually a couple degrees above normal. So it depended on where you were. But for that northern and eastern part of the state, it was the third consecutive cooler than normal week we've had. That's the longest stretch we've had all year. On the right-hand side here, precip, and this another caveat here because this changed greatly over the last 24 hours, I think, as most everyone appreciates. But before the rain yesterday, this one goes through the 17th. You can see generally drier than normal conditions here for the last week, with totals ranging from basically less than a tenth of an inch across northern areas of the lower eastern areas of the lower peninsula to half to 1 inch. That was about the highest totals we had, and there was a band up across the southern UP into the far northern lower, and then a couple of other areas down in the western lower that picked up over half an inch. But in general, it was a fairly dry week for most of the state until yesterday. And again, we'll look at that in a second. Now, up until the rain that came yesterday, which was significant, we were seeing depleted or actually decreasing soil moisture levels in most areas of the state, especially across the central and southern lower peninsula here. These are soil moisture percentage or percentiles versus climatology, looking at the top 3 feet. So we're looking at more than just the topsoil, the top of the rooting zone, but basically the top 3 feet. And the browns and reds here indicate below normal levels for this time of the year, for the middle of June. And you can see, especially over into portions of the Saginaw Valley and into the thumb, some reds here, indicating that's at least chronologically, that definitely has been the driest area of the state for some time. Actually, it's for a few months, all the way back into the winter season. There actually, though, are some areas of the Upper Peninsula you can see here that are green and actually are a little bit above normal. But for most of the state, again, given the drier than normal week, it was we did see decreases until yesterday. Degree day accumulations, and there's two different types of or totals here. The far left and the far right are seasonal totals going back to the beginning of March. So that's the longer. That's looking at overwintering crops, our forages and our wheat crops certainly. And those base 50-degree day accumulations range from about 300 in the far northern part of the state to to more than 750 in the south. On the far right-hand side here, one change that we've seen certainly over the last few weeks with the cooler than normal temperatures, we have seen the surpluses, which we had built up earlier in the season, basically gone. And lots of blue color here indicating degree day deficits or GDD deficits. And again, put another caveat on this one because we're going to probably see some changes in the upcoming couple of weeks or reversal of this. But because of the cooler than normal weather that we've had for a lot of June thus far, we have seen our degree day totals lag behind normal. In the middle here, that is those are 8650 corn degree days as or beginning on May 1. So that's looking at sort of an annual crop type situation with corn. And the blues and purples here also indicate deficits or lagging behind normal. So in general, if we put this into calendar days, most of the state now we're seeing a few calendar days behind where we typically are for the again the third week in June. But that is going to be changing in the near term future. Well, as everyone probably knows, and some are still experiencing here, we had a large weather system go through the region over the last 24 hours, and it included, unfortunately, some severe weather. Fortunately, most of that severe weather remained to our south. These are severe weather reports through the National Weather Service. All the blue marks here, those are high wind reports, damage. The reds are tornadoes, and you can see we actually had a tornado, at least a report of a tornado touchdown over in Macomb County. That was a little bit unexpected, but the most of the problems we had with the weather, some severe thunderstorms yesterday, were high winds and some power lines, the trees down, that type of thing. So, but fortunately, again, most of the really the real serious weather or worse weather stayed to our south. And what most of what we got here in Michigan was rain. And so on the map here this morning, current conditions on the left-hand side, we can see there's a frontal boundary currently pushing through the state. That's what led to all the thunderstorms and the precipitation yesterday. We still have widespread light to moderate rain occurring over most of the northern half of lower Michigan. That's moving off to the east, and that gradually will end here over the next several hours. And we probably will even see some clearing skies as the day goes on, the afternoon goes on from west to east. Now, we talked about precip. Well, look at the map on the right. These are estimates from the radar and from observations here for the last 24 hours. So what we have here is far more significant than we saw in the whole week. So most of the, again, widespread 1 inch totals across much of lower Michigan. The yellows there indicate more than 2 inches. And so you can see portions of southeastern Michigan, especially, had some of the heaviest precipitation. In some cases, even 3 inches of rain fell. A lot of that came yesterday during the day with just persistent thunderstorms over the same areas, but very, very widespread rainfall, probably the most widespread rainfall we've had in several weeks across Michigan. And it included portions of
Well, she
Michigan
just wait, till she does that. Yeah.
that were had been abnormally dry. So that's a good thing. And most places really did need the water, and we did get widespread precipitation with that event. And that
Oh,
again, that'll
okay.
be coming to an end during the day today. On our weather map here this morning, low pressure just now moved through yesterday, and that's what with that cold front there passing through the state. That's what led to the precip. That's going to move off to the north and east during the day, and again bring the last of the precipitation with it probably by midday in the far eastern part of the state, with some clearing expected later on. By tomorrow morning, another frontal boundary across the northern part of the state will lead to at least some scattered showers and a couple thunder showers. I think that's going to be confined, though, primarily to the northern part of the state, especially upper Michigan, maybe the northern lower. The best chances for rain with that frontal boundary, and it isn't going to be a big producer, but would be Friday evening, overnight Saturday into Saturday. And most of the rest of the state will remain dry, but it will be after highs today in the 70s. Today will be the coolest day of the upcoming week. But it should be noticeably warmer tomorrow and certainly by Saturday, because the real theme in the forecast as we move into the weekend is well, it's heat wave. I don't know any other term to use for it. Here's the map for Saturday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, and again, still some lingering scattered showers and thunder showers north. Not widespread, not really heavy rain, but that will still remain a threat while we have well, mainly fair and much warmer conditions across the south on Saturday. We will see high temperatures again increase or warm from the 70s today for highs into the upper 70s and some 80s tomorrow, and then we will see 90s on Saturday, Monday, Sunday, and Monday. We could probably see some mid 90s, and it's also going to be very, very humid, high dew point temperatures up into the low 70s. So very, very, actually very, very uncomfortable. We probably will see some type of a heat advisory have to be issued because of the combination of high temperatures and high humidities. That continues on into early next week. And I did add a map here this is for Sunday morning. We went beyond again one panel, but I just wanted to show you this upper air pattern. Look at this big ridge over the right, parked right over the Great Lakes, right over Michigan. And the meteorologically with those features, we've got sinking and subsidence of air underneath that ridge, and very abnormally warm conditions. And so on the right-hand side here, These are temperature departures from normal as of Sunday morning, and you can see in many cases it's at least 20 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. So not only will the high temperatures be up into the 90s and be very, very uncomfortable, our low temperatures are going to be up into the low and mid 70s. And that's for Michigan, that's about as warm as it gets. We don't see many days like that, but unusually warm. So again, I think the term heat wave, certainly the warmest weather we've had so far in the 2025 growing season, and actually the warmest weather we've had probably for back quite a ways. I didn't actually go back and look to see how long it's been, but this will be a significant heat event for us, and certainly the first major one of the year. In terms of precipitation, through the next week, through next Thursday morning, you can see fairly wet conditions or above normal totals expected, especially in northern parts of the state, but most areas seeing at least 3/4 to 1 inch. Now, some of that will be today. Lingering showers will still probably pick up several tenths of an inch, especially in northeastern lower. It'll be lighter elsewhere. A lot of the precipitation, though, you see here, some of it is the scattered showers and thunder showers on Friday and Saturday in the north. But for most of the rest of the state, this is actually what comes by the middle of next week. And so after there are heat and humidity coming up here this weekend, the next chance for really, I think, rain probably holds off until Tuesday, maybe Wednesday of next week. And that's some of the precip you see here. These totals are with that expected event. So that's a long way off, and a lot could change. But certainly the prospects for very, very hot conditions are high confidence. With the high temperatures, it goes without saying our water demand, our water needs are going to be much above normal for the upcoming week. These are weekly totals, and these are numbers we don't see very often in Michigan, but you can see some values in the south down 1.65, 1.7 inches for the week. That's way up there. So that translates to daily averages from about 1/1400ths of an inch in the far north next to the lake to as much as almost 1/4 of an inch. Climatologically,
Per
that's top
day.
end. That's as much as we see in Michigan. So very, very high water demand here for much of the upcoming week. So that's something if you do have irrigation you're watching for water management, this is a week you want to keep an eye on because especially that weekend, the late weekend and early next week, the water demands will be very, very high or much higher than normal. And then into the medium range where we headed, well, the jet stream flow here on the left-hand side, both 6 to 10 and the 8 to 14 day outlooks are pretty similar. They've got troughing out over the western part of North America with a big broad ridge, a little bit like what we saw for that Sunday image I showed just a couple ago, but with the ridging over central and eastern North America, very, very high likelihood of warmer than normal conditions. Also, this kind of pattern would also suggest a fairly active storm track through the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. And so the direction for these is warmer and wetter than normal. And that's, again, that goes for both 6 to 10, 8 to 14, and even into the early part of July, that first week in July. And I think that's right now that's looking like a pretty strong bet. So warmer and wetter is definitely the direction that we're headed here for late June and early July. And wrapping up here again, unsettled here for today, but clearing as the day goes on, a little bit of lingering rainfall. And then I think the real big story is the heat wave coming here over the next couple days, but especially for the late weekend and into early next week. And as you just saw, we're still moving towards that warmer and wetter type scenario by the end of the month, and then early in the month of July.